Good evening, everyone. You're welcome to today's session, which is managing stress and building resilience. I'm called Lydia Tomusange, and I will be your facilitator. I'm a mental health and psychosocial support practitioner, and I'm also a co-founder at Dr. A Center for Medical and Lifestyle Restoration. We are going to be talking about stress, something as adults we are very familiar with. We talk about it in casual conversations or talk about it in problematic situations. And of course, in many times in our day to day lives, we are stressed about a number of things. We think about school fees before the term starts, before the rent is due, we are thinking about it. For people who are in private business is slow, or there is a lot of competition, unexpected medical bills. All this might be able to cause us stress. And how we react in a way what psychologists call the fight, flight, and freeze. In when we are adrenaline and cortisol are released, the body prepares for rapid action. And how it will act is in different ways. You might act in a fight, like you might respond to it in a fight manner, or flight, or freeze. We are going to talk about all these three things. However, for the physical signs, when you receive a message that your school fees is due, you didn't complete school fees at the beginning of the term, then your heart starts beating fast or you start sweating. You receive a message that your child is sick. You start breathing so rapidly or you have muscle tension. Sometimes they give and you get an upset stomach. So those are usually the physical signs around stress. However, as we are responding, for those who will respond in a fight responsive manner during this conflict or during whatever it is that is presented to you, you will start arguing with people, even when there is really no reason to argue. You will be irritable, you will raise your voice unnecessarily, or there might be some physical tension. For those who will respond in a flight manner, you will avoid difficult conversations. You don't even want that confrontation. You are avoiding that stressful conversation. Or you postpone it. Somebody is talking to you, then you say, later. It's really something that requires a response immediately, but you're feeling you really don't have the energy to get into it. Or you just leave the situation. Sometimes the response might be in a freeze manner, where you just become numb. Your feelings are stuck, your emotions are stuck, you're just stuck, you're blank and numb because it's how you are responding. Sometimes this response can alter from one to another, but also sometimes, depending on our characters and our attitudes, might determine. Sometimes we will say stress is a normal thing. It's a part of life, and true, stress is something that is part of life. But it is only normal and okay when it is short term, because sometimes when we are stressed, it pushes us in certain circumstances. For instance, if you're preparing for an interview, being stressed about it might push you to prepare better. When there are deadlines, pushes you and helps set your tasks and be able to do it better. For instance, it's a medical emergency, your child is sick. It pushes you to be able to seek for medical help very quickly. However, this is only helpful when it is short term. This is harmful. It is harmful because it wears out your body, it wears out your mind. And this can become really very harmful and it can lead to anxiety disorders, to panic attacks, and chronic stress, which in turn becomes a problem chronically. And sometimes that's how people will start to develop high blood pressure. All of us as adults, there are different things that will cause us stress. These are just examples of things that might cause us stress. Financial stress. You have more than one child. A child is paying a certain amount, of course, also depending on our income levels. But you have multiple children and who are in multiple schools, and you need to pay school fees for them. So financially, that multiple number of children that you have to pay for school fees causing stress. Some of us are still staying in houses that are rented. Rent causing stress. Loans, it could be a business loan, it could be a home development loan, it could be your nuclear family. There are many other family members, parents, your younger siblings that you need to take care of. Yes, it doesn't mean that you don't love them. Yes, you really do love them, but that pressure on you to be able to care for them causes stress. Medical emergencies. You don't tell when you're going to get sick. An emergency comes up. Child, they just give you a call. The child is sick and it's an emergency and it is a cause of stress. And of course, for the financial stress, it cuts across all income levels. Many times people think the rich are not stressed. They actually are stressed in their own way as individuals. The other source of stress are relationships and marriages. This is a very contentious subject, but relationships are a cause of stress. Arguments about money. Many times, partners will argue about money or lack of money, or how you share responsibility and funds within your home. Unequal responsibilities. I've interacted with very many gentlemen who complain that women or their partners work, but they don't want to contribute to the home or contribute anything, whatever it is that they make. They want to use it for their personal gain or for their families, not for the home where they stay. All those could be causes of argument and stress within a home. Emotional distance, a killer and a very deep cause for stress. Silent resentment. Some of us or some people have partners that you resent silently. You can't talk about it. You resent them for one thing or the other. Either you resent them because you're failing to communicate something you're uncomfortable with, causing stress uh, to individuals. Things of third-party interference and uncommunicated expectations in our relationships. In marriage counseling sessions or in church, it is important that whereas you might be able to listen to third parties, make sure you communicate better with your partner to avoid stressful occurrences and people, third parties, interfering in your relationships. I mentioned uncommunicated expectations. Many times we expect our partners to be prophets, to just think for us about what it is that we want. You're not emotionally connected, but you're not talking about it. There's something that you need your partner to be doing, but you're not communicating it. And ultimately, you end up being very stressed. And for partners that have children, this is just for information to let you know that children will often sense the unspoken tension. You will not tell them that we are having problems. I'm having a problem with your father, or I'm having a problem with your mother, but they will be able to sense the tension. And you're able to carry on the tension even to the children. Parenting stress. We have this thing of social media. Social media and the influence it has on our children. It's important that you have time to nurture, to educate your children. Because if you don't, social media is going to help you do the job. And when they do, you start seeing traits in your children that you're wondering where they are getting from. You get stressed about it as a parent. You're wondering where they are getting all that from because for you presume you were a different person all together, and you start wondering, that's not how you would wish your children to be. Where are they getting those behaviors from? Issues about generational differences. I don't know which generation you're each from. They are different. We have Gen Zs lately, we have millennials. Generations are different, and we are failing to understand and adapt to these differences. So, as parents, we get so stressed and we are failing to manage the children we are bringing up. When a child becomes an adolescent, you start feeling that they are misbehaving from the from the generational differences, and it causes stress, fear of drugs. There are drugs all over in schools, in environments where we find our children, and this stresses us as parents. Academic competition. Recently, we just completed exams and they were released, P7 and Senior 4. You're calling everybody because your nieces, your nephews who are in the same class as your daughter or your son. You're calling them to find out, what did your son get? What did your daughter get? The competition causes stress on parents. Mind your child. Environments different, children are different. Feeling inadequate as a parent. Sometimes you feel you're trying your best as a parent, but you still feel inadequate, that you're not doing your best as a parent. And this causes stress. Going a little bit to the young parents who are just getting into parenthood. We have postpartum pressure and the workload. I am sure you've had things like postpartum depression. So a lot of stress that comes with that postpartum period. All this, by the way, many times we shy away from talking about all these causes of stress because we are judging ourselves. We are thinking that when you really acknowledge them, people will think that you don't love your children. You can love your children deeply, but still feel exhausted. The other common stresses would be employment or a source of livelihood, supervisor pressure, lack of a job, retrenchment fears, long hours at work, toxicity at work, work politics. This, I am sure, for people who are employed, is something that is very common and you're very familiar with. For those who are in business, every time you start a business, there is somebody else who will come and start it next to you. And all this is a cause of stress. Market instability. You do a market survey when you're going to start your business. A few months down the road, you start the business, but it doesn't seem to be working out as you expected. And all this causes stress. We have people who are unemployed. We've been in graduation. We're actually enjoying graduation parties right now. And many times they start wondering, oh, these people, young people, they are very happy they've graduated. But how many of them are going to be able to get jobs? Because even us who are employed, we are not retiring. We are still here, and all that, they are going to start applying for jobs. They will be rejected from one application they've made to another, and that is a cause of stress on the child, but also their parents. Because you're expecting, I have educated my child, the child has graduated, they should be getting a job. They start applying for jobs, and they are not getting jobs. Issue of comparison, issue of family pressure. You're being pressurized because you expected, since you have graduated, you should be getting a job. The other main cause of stress is social pressure, comparison on social media. These days, we are in an era where you just have to go through somebody's status or follow somebody on Instagram or be able to follow somebody on X, and you'll be able to know everything about their life. If they bought a new car, if they have moved into their new house, if they've taken a trip, and many times because of comparison, how come the person is able to afford such a lifestyle? How come I can't access or have a similar life? Weddings triggering self doubt many times, especially ladies. you will find that many of you will start getting married at almost a similar time, like your age mates. And so, for you, if you're not somehow either you don't have a partner or well, getting married hasn't really come up, you start feeling that you start doubting yourself, whether you're not good enough, what is happening with you, what is going on. All these are causes of unnecessary stress, things that we can be able to avoid. Things of feeling like you are behind in life because you're comparing yourself to other people. You're comparing yourself automatically. You should also be able to time they are doing, or when they are building houses, you should be able to have a house or own a house at the same time as them. Comparison really increases stress very quietly, and it can be harmful. We have quite a number of risk factors when it comes to stress and protective factors. When we are looking at these two things, you need to find yourself more in the protective factor zone than the risk factor. But of course, the risk factors, as I've been mentioning, persistent financial instability, domestic conflict, isolation, previous trauma, substance abuse, these are really, really risk factors to chronic stress. And as we are looking at protective factors are the enabling, positive enabling factors that you need to have around you. Supportive partner or spouse, a listening friend. All of us, you might have a whole group of friends, but you need to have a friend who is able to listen to you. Not only these things of going to a bar, you want to talk about issues you're going through, you can't even listen to one another, but be able to have a listening friend. Go have a saving groups. These days, there are all kinds of saving methodologies, a circle, a merry-go-round, or this and that. Be in a saving group to be able to manage your financial obligations. A faith community. There are all sorts of support groups at different churches, mothers' union, or groups for teenagers, or groups for young parents that you can be able to join and be able to get some kind of support and solace when you talk a structured routine and also in skills. We will be talking a little bit more about this. So for stress, yes, I've been talking about short-term stress being helpful and then chronic stress being harmful. When would the stress become a concern? Stress becomes a concern when it starts affecting your functioning as a person. You have poor concentration, you withdraw. Somebody who was very outgoing, you withdraw, you no longer want to go out, you keep to yourself. Increased irritability, like any small thing irritates you. Have you been at home, even just hearing a small shout from children, you start shouting, like it irritates you so much that you're shouting anything small, even saying something wrong. They neglect their hygiene. Like bathing becomes it becomes a problem. There was recently on the group a whole conversation around how many times we should be able to bathe. But the whole issue of neglecting hygiene can be a sign that stress is affecting your functionality. Increased alcohol use during stress is when even people who never used to drink one glass of wine, now you have elevated and moved to something different and increased, you no longer know how much is enough. Becomes like you bury yourself in there just to let you know it is temporary, but it doesn't take away the problem or the causes of stress. Forgetting responsibilities because you burying yourself into work and you forget things that you're supposed to be doing. And also another sign is loss of appetite. For some, like you completely lose appetite and you do not want to eat anything. But also for somebody who was eating moderately, you start eating or snacking. Yeah? Like snacking, there are some people who are stress eaters. When they are stressed, they will eat and eat and eat. Whereas others, of course, as I've mentioned, will lose appetite. So, of course, if this functioning declines for weeks, it's important that you need to be able to seek for support. And just to tell you, seeking support, let's not be stigmatized for seeking help. Seeking help is as that. So, for all the things that I've talked about, let's just take a moment to do a stress self assessment on ourselves. There are different markers that we are going to be looking at: the physical markers, the emotional markers, and our daily functioning. Let's take time. I am sure you all somewhere comfortable. Look at all these things and see whether they apply to you. So let's start a little bit with the physical markers. So the physical markers you're getting in the past 2 weeks, you're having frequent headaches or tension in the neck and shoulders. You start feeling like, is it the car? Is it sitting too much? Like there's a lot of tension in your neck and in your shoulders. You're fatigued and you have low energy even after sleep. Have you woken up in the past 2 weeks? You've been sleeping, but you wake up feeling so tired, feeling so. You have difficulty sleeping or very poor sleep quality. When we talk about very poor sleep quality, is things like, yes, you go to bed, but you're not really sleeping. Like anything small banging, you're waking up. So that is something that could qualify for poor sleep. Upset stomach. You have an explained nausea and digestive issues, increased heart rate, palpitation, and shortness of breath. So those are some of the physical markers. Let me hope you've ticked what applies to you. Let's look a little bit at the emotional markers. You're overly feeling anxious, worried, or overwhelmed. We talked about irritability. You feel irritable or sudden anger oversmears you. You're feeling sad. Like you feel sad even when somebody asks you, like that sadness that is unexplainable. You don't even know why you're sad, but you're really, really feeling sad as a person, feeling hopeless, feeling unmotivated. Then, of course, mood swings and emotional outbursts. For some people, you can even just burst out and cry over something very small. But if they asked you why you're crying, you don't even know why you are crying. Difficulty concentrating or making decisions. Like you can't concentrate. You go to work, something that was very routine and you could do easily. Now you're unable to concentrate. eh? You keep reading a sentence, you keep reading a report over and over again, and you're not really concentrating through whatever it is that you need to do. Looking a little bit at the behavioral markers, withdrawing from your family, friends, your social activities, things that you used to do routinely, check in with your family, check in with your friends. Now you're avoiding them for no reason. You're just not feeling to it. You're overeating, or you have a loss of appetite suddenly, using of alcohol, other substances, or avoidance behavior, overworking, eh? Like you're busy, but busy not for the sense of being busy, but busy as a way of distracting yourself from what you're feeling and how you are feeling. The other thing is the daily functioning. Daily functioning where you're struggling to manage work, you're struggling to manage school, you're struggling to manage household tasks, you're feeling unable to cope with multiplities, you have reduced engagement in activities that you usually used to enjoy. Let me hope that as we were moving along through the different markers, the physical markers, the emotional markers, the behavior markers, and the daily functioning, you have been ticking off what applies to you. And you might find yourself that you've ticked off all those boxes of what they assessed. Of course, if you have ticked almost 3 things in each of the markers, it's important that you try to find help. Help, as we will be talking about practical stress management strategies that you might be able to do individually, but you might also think of seeking help from Dr. A or from any other facility that you might want to get to. So let's get into the practical stress management strategies. We are going to look at 8 of them. The first one is restoring control. The objective here is to reduce the feeling of hopelessness through actionable steps, things that you can be able to do to regain. The moment as an adult you lose control of your life and things happening around you, it will contribute to stress and it will become chronic. So what are the daily routine strategies of things that we can be able to do? You remember we talked about stress that is caused by financial aspects. We could try reviewing daily or weekly expenses. Track your income, your spending in a notebook or a phone app, in whatever way that works. It's important to be able to track your income and your spending. Many times we start thinking about things that we need, things that we need, and we don't really think through, yes, I need this, I need this, I need this, but should you have it? Do you have the money? That thing that you feel that you need. So it's important that you track your income versus what you want to spend the money on. Set small and achievable goals that you can be able to achieve. So you're going to get paid. Can you be able to achieve, or as you're starting there, be able to think about certain things that you will want to do, things that you want to achieve. You want to buy a car, you want to complete your house. Is it achievable given the income that you have? But also in a small way, you can decide if for one bill at a time rather than worrying about everything all at once. And of course, prioritizing tasks. It's important to list down your tasks, your to-do list, and start with what is urgent. Yeah? What is urgent to prevent you from feeling overwhelmed. That's one way, or one practical way for you to be able to manage stress. The second thing is about regulating the body. And the objective here is to calm your nervous system to reduce physical stress responses. And daily routine strategies that you can be able to do. Morning or evening walks, 20-30 minutes. This is going to help you regulate your cortisol levels and improve your mood. Okay? Slow diaphragmatic breathing and then exhale. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can repeat this 5 to 10 minutes a day. I don't know whether you have done it, but it really, really calms you down. And when you're inhaling, it's from the diaphragm. Inhale, and you're counting for those seconds of 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for 4 seconds, and then exhale for 6 to 8 seconds. And you can keep repeating it. Even when you find yourself in a confrontational moment, this is something that usually helps you to be able to calm down so that you avoid a fight response in like to have an outburst or to be irritated or to get angry. It is something that is very helpful. Hydration, drinking water regularly. Dehydration increases fatigue and irritability. It is important that we hydrate. The other strategy is the sleep hygiene. We need to sleep at consistent times. We need to avoid screens 30 to 60 minutes before we sleep. Many of us have tried this practice with the TV, but not with phones. Phones are also screens. When we're talking about screens, it is TV and phones. It's important that you relax before you get to sleep. And of course, when you go to sleep, it's important that the environment you're sleeping in is quiet, it's cool to help with your sleep. And of course, also the stretching, light exercise, tension, and from that whole chronic stress. So it's important to do these physical activities, the deep breathing, which activate, of course, the parasympathetic nervous system, lowering your heart rate and your blood. It's important to strengthen our social capital, our social network. It's very important. And one of the things that we could do, checking in with trusted friends and family, schedule time to be able to make a call to a friend, a call to a family member. This for supportive purposes. It will help you feel better. You might get to talk about something that is disturbing you, something that is overwhelming you, but you get to have somebody whom you trust, whom you can be able to check in with. Community saving groups or neighborhood activities can be able to help you keep connected. Open communication with your partners, with your spouses is important. Practice daily briefs. There are partners who live in the same home but they are strangers. You don't even ask yourselves how the day was. You don't ask your girlfriend, how was your day? Or your boyfriend, how was your day? So that they can be able to share any challenges that they might have faced or share with you any successes that could have happened. We need to adopt or nurture open communication with our partners. Offering help. By the way, you might look at it that you're helping somebody else, so they are the ones that are benefiting. However, also offering help to others, eh, giving support improves your personal resilience. And we've known that social connectedness is the key protective factor against chronic stress and depression. Is about structured planning. Yes, problems are part of life. They are part of growing up. Are they problems or they are challenges? They are part of life. However, how do we manage them? Write them down and what's causing them. Because there is a challenge, but what is causing that challenge? Identify resources. Check in with what's available as a resource. Resource is not just about money. It could be time. It could be support from somebody else. So when you plan for something, you have a challenge, you have something that you're going through, it could be that you need support from a sister, a support from a friend. But when you hold it in, you seem like you're living on an island and you don't have any support mechanism to be able to help you deal with this. Negotiation or delegation. In workspaces, it's important for us to delegate, delegate work, but also in our social arrangements, you can be able to delegate work to people who are near you, who are available to be able to help you with errands. People are always willing to help, but sometimes it's because we don't ask. But also, as part of structured planning, We could use calendars or to-do lists to be able to schedule our tasks in a very manner that reduces last minute panicking for work that we might have failed to do on time. The other strategy is around self-care without guilt. I know of many adults, and especially women, who feel guilty for taking care of themselves or thinking about themselves. Restoring your mental and physical energy to prevent burnout, all this comes from you caring for yourself. And just to let you know, you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give what you don't have. Many times, as parents or as adults, we carry this burden on our heads, this responsibility, and we feel that no, not feel, yes, it's true, it's our responsibility. But if you do not care for yourself, then you won't be in the right frame of mind to support anybody or effectively support them. As I always say, you can't pour from an empty cup, even if it is love, even if it is kindness, even if it is self self love. You can't give what you do not have. So, what are some of the things that we can be able to do? We need to set time apart daily to do things that either hobbies, things that you like to do, either just 30 minutes to rest. If you like reading, just do reading. If you like to watch movies, watch a movie. If you like to journal, you journal. If you like to exercise, you do it without feeling guilty. It is for the benefit of everybody around you. Self-care is very important. We equally need to be mindful of breaks during work. Some of us get out of the house in the morning, sit in the car, get to the office, sit in the office till, for some people who are lucky, till lunchtime. But even for some, they will not get up from their desks to go and have lunch. Lunch will find them there, and you don't get any moment, any pause to stretch, to hydrate, or even breathe. It is important that you take a pause every 90 minutes of the day to stretch. Stand up, stretch yourself, take water, walk around. I had a conversation. We had an engagement with some organization at one point, and there's a lady who was telling us, because we were mentioning this exact thing, and then she was saying, please tell our bosses, because when they see us walking around, they say we are lazy, we are idling around. No, it is just lack of awareness. It's important. It's important for our bodies, for our minds, that every 90 minutes you're able to get up, walk around, stretch, hydrate, and just breathe for your own health. Limit multitasking. I know multitasking is one of those key traits that we say, especially in formal workplaces, that we say is very good. But it's important that you focus on one task at a time, even if you're going to be doing, I don't know how many things in a day, focus at one thing at a time to reduce cognitive fatigue. Because even your brain, that you're moving from one thing to another, you're straining. Healthy nutrition is another thing. Include fruits on your meals, include vegetables, and have regular meals. Avoid excessive caffeine and sugar. All this is important as we are looking into self-care. The other one is avoiding harmful coping. This thing seems to come as if naturally, but we need to know that it is short-lived. It just deals with the symptom. That symptom, either you're worried or you're sad. So, for instance, when you drink, you feel as if your problems have gone away. It is temporary. It is a temporary solution. When you don't deal with the root cause of the problem, then you're just harboring the stress, you're just bottling it up. And one day you will just have this outburst, and sometimes an outburst that is a. So daily routine strategies that you can be able to do, alcohol, stimulants as coping mechanisms for stress. Avoid yelling or physical outbursts. Use deep breathing and timeouts to manage anger. Address postponement. Break tasks into small things that you can be able to do to avoid being in a cycle of every other thing. And of course, by the way, in this generation where social media is it's like food, there are some people who practically, like they were born with a phone in their hand. If even the phone has no power, they become very restless, like as if they can't function. Social media, there is a study that was done that social media is a very high contributor of stress, eh? High contributor of stress among adults. So we need to be mindful with how we use social media. It's important to have hours of your time when you're off any kind of social media, like just be off. If you can't even take off a day that you're really off social media, you start to feel like on those particular days, you're feeling so fresh, you're feeling so good and rested about, like you're really well rested and you're feeling good about yourself. The other strategy, looking at faith as resilience, using spiritual beliefs to promote hope and endurance. For people who are religious from any faith, whether Christian or Muslim, we know how prayer, eh, prayer, meditation helps us to be able to process many things that are going on in our lives, to process worries, be able to give you hope, be able to give you that comfort that things will be better or will get better. Reflective journaling. Journaling is important, especially for people who are introverts and find it difficult to talk about their feelings, to talk about their emotions. It's important to journal, but even the extroverts, journaling is important. But it's important when you also structure it. Structure how you journal. Don't journal and only talk about negative things. Journal and record things that you're grateful about. All of us, even amidst challenges that we face in life, there is something you must be grateful. You must be grateful for. Either you should be grateful for your life, you should be grateful for your family, you should be grateful for one thing or another. Gratitude. Gratitude is very key. Gratitude is very important. One day, probably we'll be able to talk about this issue of gratitude a little bit more. Even having some items other than documenting it in a journal, but even having gratitude jars, things that can be able to remind you that amidst challenges that you might be facing, there is also a lot that you need to be grateful for. Community participation. We talked a little bit about this earlier. Attending faith fellowships or small group discussions for emotional support is half solved. But also sometimes just sharing, lift off your shoulders and you start feeling better about it. It's also partly the reason when we are talking about mental health issues, you will find that research has shown that women deal with mental health issues much better than men. Why? It's because this whole thing we talk about, like as if women are doing Lugambo, they be chattering here and there. It helps them deal, share whatever it is that they are. One day, you just have an outburst because you've had enough, and enough becomes enough, and before you know it, you're in a whole other state of life. Of course, also, yes, we talk about faith. Faith is important. It promotes hope. It promotes endurance, but it's important to combine faith with action. We cannot just pray and not do any practical steps to help us manage our responsibilities. We need to combine the faith with actions so that these practices can support us to cope. They can help us enhance meaning and making right decisions and be able to control our lives. And lastly, it's a guided relaxation. The objective here is to direct practice to calm our bodies, to calm our minds. And the things here are things that we usually teach even at the center, at Dr. A center, teach practical things. There, you remember I talked about the deep breathing. There are also muscle relaxations of things that we can be able to do, visualization, affirmation, closing. All these are guided relaxations of things that you can be able to do to calm your body and calm your mind, which would whatever stress that you might be getting through. That said, thank you very much for. And just a message from Dr. A, Center for Medical and Lifestyle Restoration is I know Dr. Agnes has been speaking to you a lot about the different things that we do, the different services that we offer, and these services are meant to support you on your journey to well-being, helping you to manage stress, build resilience, strengthen your mental health and emotional health. And in regard to the mind, because she keeps telling you about the body, mind, and soul, or purpose. She's kept talking a lot about this. But in regards to the mind, some of the services that we offer individual counseling and psychosocial support. These are personalized sessions to help you manage your day-to-day life challenges. We do offer stress management and resilience trainings. We do this for institutions, for groups, people who are in organized groups, where we are able to share with you practical coping skills at work, at family level, and also just in your day-to-day personal life. We also do family and relationship support. Family conferencing, family counseling, things around parenting, parenting skills training, parenting communication between you and your young people, marital counseling or relationship counseling for those who are planning to get married, or you are in a relationship but you need some relationship guidance. We offer all that. Group workshops and community sessions, faith and spiritual guidance, guided relaxation, as I mentioned earlier, and mindfulness exercises, and of course, referral. When you're dealing with mental health, it works in a pyramid. And pyramid, sometimes there is need for specialized clinical care. So we do an assessment, and if we find that you need specialized psychiatric care, then we would be able to refer you for these specialized services to centers that we have and get to work with. Thank you very much for listening to me. It was a pleasure sharing this information with you, and I know with time we shall continue to unpack this issue of stress. I know it was a mouthful with so many things in there, but being the first session around the mind, we will continuously be able to unpack it so that we start to talk about small little things here and there. That said, hand over to Dr. A to moderate this question and answer session. That's if there is any.